You don't have a home, do you? I don't have a mom. The voice was small, almost fragile, yet it cut through the December wind like a bell. Kara lifted her head slowly, her body stiff from the cold metal bench of the bus stop where she had been sleeping for the past week. She wasn't sure whether she'd heard a child or the ringing in her ears from hunger. The little girl stood in front of her, black, about 5 years old, round cheeks reddened by the cold, gray knitted cap pulled low over her curls. She held a brown paper bag close to her chest as if it were precious. Kara tried to sit up straighter, pulling her thin coat around her shaking body. Her shoes, once reliable, had fallen apart 2 weeks ago. She'd been barefoot for the last 4 days, her feet wrapped in torn socks she'd found in a donation bin. I'm fine, Kara whispered. Really, Vrew. But she wasn't. She was 26, jobless, homeless, and completely alone. A month ago, she had been a junior accounting assistant at a small firm downtown. When her department downsized, she was the first to go. 2 weeks later, the landlord locked her out for late rent. She had no siblings, no surviving relatives. Her mother, her only anchor, had died the year before. And then, she had nothing. You don't look fine, the girl said softly. You look cold. Kara tried to smile but couldn't hold it. Behind the girl stood a man, her father, no doubt black, about 40, tall and weary-looking yet steady. His coat was old but clean. His face lined with responsibility. He carried a small grocery bag that looked no heavier than their modest means. The little girl extended the bag to Kara. This is for you. Daddy bought cookies. He said we could share. Oh, sweetheart, you should keep them. It's freezing. You need it more, she said simply. Kara hesitated, but the warmth of the bag was irresistible. She accepted it with trembling fingers. Fresh cookies. Still warm. She blinked back tears. What's your name? She asked softly. Maya, the girl replied. Maya Williams. Kara nodded. I'm Kara. Maya opened her mouth to say more, but her father gently touched her shoulder. Sweetheart, give the lady some room. But Maya didn't move. Instead, she looked at Kara with an unsettling, uncanny wisdom. You need a home, she said, and I need a mommy. Kara felt her breath catch. Before she could answer, footsteps crunched behind them, heavy, too close. A man, shabby, unshaven, smelling of cheap liquor, staggered into the bus shelter. He stared down at Kara with a crooked, predatory grin. Well, looky here, he muttered. Blondie's still freezing out here. How about you come keep me warm, sweetheart? Kara froze. The man leaned closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. She recoiled instantly. Jamal stepped forward. Sir, back off, he warned. The man snorted. Ain't talking to you. His fingers tightened on Kara's arm. She ain't got nobody. I seen her here all week. She'll be grateful. Jamal's jaw tightened. I said step back. The man shoved him. Jamal stumbled but didn't fall. Daddy, Maya cried, hugging his leg. Kara scrambled away, heart pounding. But the man followed her, reaching again. Jamal moved fast this time, placing himself between Kara and the stranger. You touch her again, and we're going to have a problem. The man swung wildly. The hit connected. Jamal's head snapped to the side, and he dropped to one knee, blood dripping from his brow. Daddy, Maya screamed. Kara lunged forward. Stop, please just stop. The bus squealed to a halt at that exact moment. The doors hissed open. The driver stood up, shouting, and the man bolted into the darkness before anyone could grab him. Jamal wiped the blood from his forehead, breathing hard. Kara knelt beside him. Are you okay? Oh God, are you okay? I'm fine, he said, steadying himself. Just a scratch. It's not, Kara whispered, staring at the blood staining the snow. Jamal managed a tired smile. I've had worse. Maya? You okay, baby? Maya nodded shakily and clung to him. The bus driver urged them on. Come on, folks. It's freezing out here. Jamal looked at Kara again, really looked at her. Her bare feet. The trembling. The fear. The humiliation. No one should be out here, he said quietly. Kara swallowed hard. I don't want charity. It's not charity, he replied. It's survival. Maya tugged her coat sleeve. Daddy, can she come home with us, please? Jamal hesitated, not out of distrust, but concern. "Just tonight," he said gently. "A meal, a warm place. Then you decide what's next. I won't push." Kara stared at the open bus doors, at Maya's pleading eyes, at Jamal's bleeding forehead. The man had gotten hurt defending her, a stranger. Emotion swelled in her chest, pain, gratitude, fear, hope. Slowly, she nodded. "Okay," she whispered. "Just for tonight." Maya grabbed her hand instantly, beaming. "You can sit next to me on the bus. Daddy makes the best mashed potatoes." Kara laughed a sound she barely recognized. "That sounds wonderful." Jamal guided them onto the bus, pressing a handkerchief to his brow. Snow continued falling outside, softening the edges of the gritty street. As the doors closed, Kara exhaled a shaky breath. For the first time in months, the cold felt survivable. Maybe, just maybe, tonight was the beginning of something she no longer believed in. A second chance. If this moment touched you, tap, like, and comment where you're watching from. Someone near you might be watching this story too. The bus ride to Jamal's neighborhood was quiet, save for Maya's gentle humming and the distant hiss of snow against the windows. Kara sat beside her, clutching the brown paper bag of cookies she hadn't dared to eat. The warmth from the bus heater made her toes tingle painfully at first, like needles waking up after being asleep too long. She dared not remove her socks, patched together from different fabrics and damp with slush. Jamal sat across the aisle, his hand still pressed to the dried blood at his temple. He'd said nothing since they boarded, but he occasionally glanced at Kara through the window's reflection, as if measuring her fragility in the dim light. Kara stared ahead, heart thudding with confusion. What was she doing? Why had she said yes? It could have been a trap, another dangerous detour, but something about Maya's bold innocence and Jamal's steady courage had cracked open a place inside her long frozen shut. The bus rumbled to a stop. "This is us," Jamal said, rising slowly. He turned to Kara. "Come on. It's just a block." Outside, the wind had quieted, the snow now a soft curtain falling between rows of old brownstones and small shops with hand-painted signs. Christmas lights clung stubbornly to fences and porch railings, glowing faintly through the snowfall. They walked down a narrow street. Kara limped slightly, her legs stiff, but Maya held her hand like they'd done it every day. Jamal led them to a small brick house next to a modest church. The windows were lit with a golden glow. A porch swing creaked gently in the breeze. He opened the front door, and warm air wrapped around Kara like a blanket. Inside smelled like something savory: meat, spices. Something cooked slowly with care. Her stomach clenched with longing. "Make yourself at home," Jamal said, closing the door behind them. "Maya, go hang up your coat." The girl obeyed, pulling off her boots and mittens and placing them in a woven basket by the door. She looked at Kara expectantly. Kara hesitated. "You can hang yours too," Jamal said gently. She slipped off her coat, unsure where to put it, until Maya patted the space beside hers. Jamal disappeared into a hallway. "I'll get the guest room ready," he called out. Guest room. The words felt unreal. The living room was small but tidy wooden floorboards. A second-hand couch with crochet blankets folded neatly at the edges. On a shelf were framed photos of Maya with a smiling woman, her mother. No doubt. The resemblance was uncanny. Her eyes, her grin, even the tilt of her chin when she laughed. Kara's eyes lingered on a photograph of all three of them: Jamal, his late wife, and baby Maya in his arms. His expression was softer then, less weighed down. "Do you like stories?" Maya asked, appearing beside her with a children's book in hand. Kara nodded. "I used to." "Will you read to me?" "Daddy always does, but his voices are silly." Kara smiled faintly. "Sure, just one story though." Maya curled up on the couch beside her, opening the book and pointing to a page. "This one. It's about a bird who gets lost but finds her way home." Kara began to read. Her voice cracked at first, but as she continued, something old stirred inside her. She had read like this to her mother when the older woman was in the hospital, voice steady, disguising fear. Her chest tightened with the memory. By the time the story ended, Maya had her head against Kara's shoulder. Her breathing slowed. Her hand rested against Kara's arm. "Trusting," Jamal returned. wiping his hands on a kitchen towel. Room's ready. It's not fancy, but it's clean and warm. Kara gently shifted Maya onto a cushion and stood. Thank you for all of this. He nodded. Follow me. She followed him down a short hallway into a small room with cream-colored walls and a twin bed under a patchwork quilt. A dresser stood against the wall, a modest lamp glowing on top. There was even a pair of slippers beside the bed. I hope it's okay, he said. It's more than okay, Kara whispered. He lingered at the door. I'll let you rest. If you need anything, just ask. As he turned to go, she spoke again. Why are you doing this? Jamal paused. Because someone once gave me a bed when I had nowhere to sleep. Because it's winter. Because Maya saw something in you. Kara swallowed hard. I don't deserve it. Most people don't, he said quietly. That's not the point. He closed the door gently. Kara sat on the edge of the bed, the quilt soft under her hands. Her eyes burned. She couldn't remember the last time she had a door that closed behind her. The last time she didn't have to keep watch all night. The last time anyone asked her what she needed. She unwrapped her socks. Her feet were red, cracked, swollen. She bit her lip and dipped them into the slippers. They were warm, her vision blurred. She lay down too tired to cry, too grateful to sleep. And yet, she did. For the first time in weeks, sleep came quietly, without fear. Outside, snow kept falling, coating the city in silence. Inside, in the little house beside the church, something began to thaw. Kara didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But for tonight, she had warmth. A roof. A door. A name spoken kindly. And for the first time in a long time, she believed she might just wake up still safe. Kara awoke slowly, disoriented by the quiet. It wasn't the cold that stirred her. There was no chill gnawing at her spine, no wind howling through cracked planks or concrete corners. Instead, it was warmth, a simple, unfamiliar comfort. She blinked at the cream-colored ceiling above her. For a moment, she didn't move. Her mind struggled to reconcile the sensation of a mattress beneath her with the reality she had lived for months. Park benches, church steps, shelter floors. The soft rustling of morning filtered in through the window, along with a golden light that made her want to stay exactly where she was. A soft knock at the door brought her back. Miss Kara? Maya's voice chirped through the wood. Are you awake? Daddy made pancakes. Kara sat up, rubbing her eyes. She glanced at the clock on the nightstand. 7:42 a.m. She hadn't slept this long in weeks. No, months. Her body felt sore, like it was catching up all at once. She stood, her movements slow and cautious. Her feet still throbbed, but the slippers helped. They weren't hers, and yet, they felt like a small mercy. When she opened the door, Maya stood there in a fuzzy pink robe, her curly hair a halo of bedhead, grinning from ear to ear. I saved you 2 pancakes, she announced proudly. You saved them? Kara asked with a smile. Well, Daddy was going to eat them, but I said no. That's very generous of you. Maya nodded solemnly. It's Christmas week. Sharing matters extra. Kara followed her down the hall, pausing briefly in the bathroom to splash cold water on her face. The mirror reflected someone who looked a little less broken than the day before, still pale, still worn, but not hollow. There was something in her eyes again. The smallest flicker. In the kitchen, Jamal stood at the stove flipping the last pancake. He wore a plain gray hoodie and dark jeans, and his left temple was covered by a small adhesive bandage. Morning, he said without turning. Sleep okay? Better than okay, Kara said. I added cinnamon this time, Maya whispered, settling into a chair at the small wooden table. I see that, Kara said, eyeing the plate of fluffy, golden pancakes stacked high and steaming. Jamal turned to face her, a mug in his hand. Coffee? Yes, please, she said quickly, then paused. Only if there's enough. There's always enough, he replied, handing her a dark ceramic mug. It read, World's Oakiest Teacher. She smiled. Is it a school day? Kara asked, realizing Maya was still in her robe. Nope, Maya said, poking her fork into a pat of butter. Winter break. Jamal placed 2 pancakes on a plate and slid them in front of Kara. She hesitated, then picked up her fork. The first bite was soft, sweet, warm. Her eyes watered before she could stop it. "Sorry," she said, lowering her gaze. "Don't be," Jamal said quietly. They ate mostly in silence after that, save for Maya's constant commentary about pancakes, snow angels, her favorite Christmas songs, and her plan to build a gingerbread house, with actual windows this time. Kara listened, drawn in despite herself. When the plates were cleared, Jamal glanced toward the window. "I've got to check in at the church for a bit. Nothing long. You're welcome to stay here, of course." "Is that where you work?" Kara asked. "Yep. Maintenance mostly. I used to teach full-time. But since..." His voice trailed off. "Anyway, the church keeps us going." Maya piped up. "Sometimes he fixes the heaters and sometimes he sings really bad during choir practice." "I'm standing right here, Maya," Jamal said, deadpan. "I know," she replied, giggling. Kara smiled again. "Can I help with anything? Around the house, I mean." Jamal looked surprised. "You don't have to." "I want to." He nodded. "Well, the dishes are fair game, and the living room could use a vacuum." "Done." As Jamal left, Maya returned to the couch with her coloring books. Kara washed the dishes slowly, savoring the normalcy. The sound of the faucet, the clink of ceramic plates, the faint hum of the heater, these were luxuries she had forgotten. In the living room, a photo on the shelf caught her eye again. It was the same picture she'd noticed last night: Jamal, his wife, and baby Maya. The woman had soft eyes and a smile that hinted at quiet strength. Kara reached for the frame gently. "She was really pretty, huh?" Maya said, standing beside her now. "She was," Kara said softly. "That's Mommy," Maya added. "She went to heaven, but I think she visits in dreams." "I bet she does," Kara said. "She used to sing to me," Maya whispered. "Now Daddy sings, but it's different." Kara knelt beside her. "Different doesn't mean worse, just different." Maya leaned her head against Kara's shoulder. "You smell like soap now." "That's good." Kara let out a laugh, short but genuine. "Thanks, I guess." They spent the morning together, Kara cleaning, Maya coloring and narrating stories about each page. It was the most peaceful Kara had felt in ages. Around noon, Jamal returned, shaking snow from his coat. His cheeks were red from the wind, but his eyes lit up when he saw the vacuumed carpet and tidy cushions. "You didn't have to do all this," he said. "I wanted to earn my keep." "Well," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, "you've definitely earned lunch." They shared tomato soup and grilled cheese, and Kara offered to wash dishes again. Jamal didn't argue. As the afternoon faded, Kara sat at the window watching the snow deepen. She had no idea what tomorrow held. She didn't dare ask about staying longer. But something inside her, the part she thought was dead, felt awake again. Maya brought over a crayon drawing. It showed a stick figure. Kara holding hands with a stick figure Maya, under a Christmas tree. Above it, she had written in shaky letters, "My family." Kara looked at it, stunned. Then she looked at Jamal. He didn't say anything, but he didn't look away. It wasn't a promise, but it was something. The snow had eased by late afternoon, leaving the world outside wrapped in a soft white hush. Kara stood by the front door in her borrowed slippers, watching as fat flakes drifted lazily past the porch light. She wasn't sure why she felt nervous. Maybe because she'd slept in a real bed for the first time in weeks. Maybe because she had laughed this morning an unfamiliar sound. Or maybe because Jamal had just asked, "Would you like to walk with us to the church?" The church. The building next door that had watched her from the kitchen window all morning. Brick, weathered, with a steeple that seemed to pierce the gray sky. A place full of people. Voices. Questions. "You don't have to," Jamal added gently, his brow creased just a little. "But they're kind folks. Most of them. Most." Kara heard the word clearly. Maya tugged at her sleeve. "Come on, Miss Kara. I want to show you my Sunday classroom. Daddy painted the walls yellow 'cause I said yellow makes kids smarter." Jamal chuckled. "That's not what you said." "It is," Maya insisted. "Smarter and happier." Kara slipped into her thin coat. "I'll go," she said. "I'd like to see it." Jamal nodded once, noticeably relieved. and they stepped out into the crisp air. The snow crunched beneath their boots. Maya wore purple ones with stars on the sides. Jamal wore old work boots, and Kara wore her slippers, keeping close to patches of dry pavement. The church was only a few steps away. As they approached, warm light spilled through the stained glass windows, casting patches of blue and red across the snow. A few cars were parked out front, older models, some with rust, one with a crooked bumper held together by duct tape. This was a working-class neighborhood, modest, steady, rooted in routine. Inside, the faint scent of pine cleaner and old wood greeted them. A hallway stretched ahead, with bulletin boards covered in handwritten announcements: holiday dinner volunteers needed, youth choir practice Friday. Grief support group meets Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Kara paused at that last one. Grief. Her mother's face flickered in her mind, soft, kind, fading. She blinked it away and continued walking. Maya led the way, skipping down the hall. This is where I do my coloring, and this is where Daddy fixes the boiler when it makes burpy noises. And this, a voice interrupted. Well, hello, Jamal. You're early today. A woman emerged from a side room, a tall, older black woman with sharp, assessing eyes and silver hair wrapped in a patterned scarf. Her posture radiated authority in the way only grandmothers and lifelong church members could manage. Hello, Sister Johnson, Jamal said warmly, just showing Maya's room to our guest. The woman's gaze slid to Kara and lingered, heavy and unblinking. Guest. The word didn't soften her. And who might this be? Sister Johnson asked, folding her arms. This is Kara, Jamal said. She's staying with us for a bit. Sister Johnson's eyes narrowed in suspicion or concern. Kara couldn't tell. Staying? With y'all? Kara's heart tightened. She suddenly felt painfully aware of her thin coat, her messy hair, her bare face without makeup, her slippers. She lowered her eyes. Jamal cleared his throat. Miss Kara has had a rough time. Maya invited her to stay last night. Maya? Sister Johnson raised an eyebrow. That child's got a generous spirit, but she don't run the household. No, ma'am, Jamal said calmly. I made the decision. Sister Johnson turned back to Kara. You're not from around here. Zero. No, Mom, Kara said quietly. Got family? The woman pressed. Kara shook her head. A job? No. Home? Kara swallowed. Not anymore. Sister Johnson exhaled through her nose, a long, measured breath. Well, life can be hard, harder for some than others. Her eyes flicked between Kara's pale face and Jamal's steady posture, and something unspoken lingered there. Race, difference, history, old wounds. Then she softened, just a little. If Jamal vouches for you, I suppose that's enough, for now. Kara nodded, unsure whether to feel relieved or smaller. Maya, oblivious to the tension, tugged her sleeve again. Come on, I want to show you my cubby. Jamal mouthed a tiny apology over Maya's head. Don't mind her. Kara nodded. The classroom was small and cozy, painted a soft yellow just like Maya had said. The walls were lined with finger paintings, construction paper angels, and Bible verses in crayon letters. Maya ran to a shelf and pulled down a binder stuffed with drawings. This is me, she said proudly, flipping through pages. And this is Daddy. And this is Mommy with her sparkles. Kara leaned closer. Sparkles? Maya pointed to the dots of glitter around the drawn woman's head. She's in heaven now. When people are in heaven, they glow because they're close to the stars. Kara's throat tightened. That's beautiful, Maya. Daddy cries sometimes when he looks at pictures. The girl said matter-of-factly. He thinks I don't know. But I do. Kara didn't know what to say, so she put her arm gently around Maya. The child leaned against her without hesitation. Jamal appeared at the doorway, touching the bandage on his brow. Maya, sweetheart, don't keep Miss Kara too long. She needs rest. But Kara shook her head. I'm fine. He studied her a moment. You sure? Yes, she said, surprised at how much she meant it. They walked back toward the sanctuary. Sister Johnson was still there, wiping down hymn racks, humming softly. She nodded at them but said nothing more. The sanctuary itself was large but intimate wooden pews, a cross carved by hand, wreaths hung on the pillars for Christmas. Kara stood at the back, taking it in. She hadn't been inside a church since her mother's memorial. The quiet stirred old memories, her mother's hand in hers during childhood services, the smell of candle wax, the hum of organ pipes buzzing softly before each hymn. "You all right?" Jamal asked softly. She nodded. "It's just been a long time." "I get that." Kara traced her fingers along the back of a pew. "This place, it feels lived in." "That's because it is," Jamal said. "We're not fancy, but we're here for each other." The words hit her harder than expected. She turned to him. "Why'd you help me last night?" "Really?" He looked down, adjusting his coat, then met her eyes. "Because I've seen people walk past someone who needed help. I've been that someone before." Kara said nothing, but the truth of it settled between them, quiet, steady. Maya ran ahead, twirling under the stained glass glow. "Look, Miss Kara, I'm a snowflake." Kara smiled. "A real one." Jamal watched her, then spoke softly. "Whatever you're carrying, you don't have to carry it alone. Not here." For the first time in a long while, Kara believed him. That night, Kara couldn't sleep. The house was still. Snow continued falling outside in steady, quiet sheets, muffling the sounds of the world. In the little guest room lit only by the glow of a street lamp through the curtain, Kara lay awake under the patchwork quilt, staring at the ceiling, her hands clasped over her stomach. It wasn't fear that kept her up this time. It was softness, safety, things she hadn't known how to feel for so long. She sat up slowly, pushing back the covers. Her body ached less than it had yesterday. The slippers waited for her by the bed, and when she slipped her feet into them, she almost sighed at the warmth. The hallway creaked under her weight as she padded down toward the kitchen. She wasn't hungry, just restless. Maybe a glass of water. Maybe just a few minutes looking out the window. But as she passed Maya's room, she heard it, a tiny whimper. She stopped. Another sound, a soft murmur in the dark, then a gasp. Kara hesitated only a second before she knocked lightly on the door. "Maya?" No answer. Just more soft gasping. She pushed the door open slowly. The room was dim, lit only by a night light shaped like a moon. The yellow-painted walls were covered in crayon drawings and stickers. Maya was curled into a tight ball under her blanket, her head thrashing side to side, murmuring something inaudible. Kara crossed the room and knelt beside the bed. "Maya," she whispered again, gently brushing the child's curls back from her face. The little girl bolted upright with a scream. Kara immediately pulled back. "It's okay. It's just me. You were dreaming." Maya looked around wildly for a moment, her eyes filled with confusion and fear. Then she saw Kara's face and launched into her arms. Kara held her close, the child's small body shaking against hers. I dreamed Mommy was driving away," Maya sobbed. "And I was running after the car, and she couldn't see me. And I kept running and running." "I know," Kara whispered, rocking her gently. "It was just a dream. You're safe." Maya's breathing slowed, still hiccuping between gasps. "Sometimes I see her, in the dream. But she never stays." Kara held her tighter, swallowing back tears of her own. "I used to have dreams like that about my mom," she said. "After she died, I used to wake up thinking she was still in the other room." "Did it stop?" Kara thought for a moment. "Not really. But over time, it stopped hurting the same way." Maya snuggled closer into her arms, her fingers curled in Kara's shirt. "Can you stay? I'm right here." "No, can you stay with me? Just tonight?" Kara hesitated. Then she nodded. "Of course." "Oh." She lay down beside the small girl, careful not to disturb the stuffed animals lined along the edge of the bed. Maya's breathing soon settled into a soft rhythm. Kara kept her arm around her, staring at the nightlight glowing like a pale moon. The warmth of the little bed, the scent of cinnamon from Maya's pillow, the rhythm of the child's breath, it was everything she hadn't known she needed. And something else, something unfamiliar, stirred deep within her, a longing not just to be safe, but to be needed. The next morning, sunlight spilled into the kitchen. Kara stood at the stove, uncertain of her movements but determined. Jamal came in, eyebrows raised. "You cook now?" he teased. Kara flipped a pancake with too much force, trying. "Maya deserves breakfast that doesn't come from a box." Jamal laughed softly and poured 2 mugs of coffee. She told me you stayed with her last night. She had a nightmare. Though, she gets those, Jamal said, his tone shaded with weariness. It's been better lately, though, since you came. Kara looked up. You have a calming presence, he added, even if you don't believe it. I'm just trying to help, she said. He nodded, sipping his coffee. Helping matters. Maya came bounding into the room moments later, fresh-faced, wearing a red hoodie and striped leggings. You made pancakes? Kind of, Kara said. They might be more like warm circles of flour. Huh? They smell good, Maya said, climbing onto a chair. Did you dream anything, Miss Kara? Kara smiled faintly. No dreams. Just quiet. Maya tilted her head. That means you slept with peace. Jamal raised his eyebrows at her. Where'd you learn that? TV, Maya said proudly. They all laughed. Later that afternoon, Kara ventured into the backyard, a small enclosed space with an old wooden fence and 2 snow-covered lawn chairs. The sun had briefly peeked through the clouds, and she felt the need for air. She sat down carefully on one of the chairs, brushing off the snow with her sleeves. Jamal joined her, bringing a blanket which he tossed over her lap. Thanks, she said. They sat in silence for a moment. You're good with her, he said eventually. I don't know how to be, Kara replied honestly. I've never had kids. Never thought I'd want to. You don't have to want to be a mother to know how to be kind. Mel, Kara looked at him. Why are you so decent? Jamal chuckled. That's not something I get accused of often. I mean it, she said. You helped a stranger in the snow. You let me into your home. Most people, they walk past. He shrugged. People walked past me once too. Kara looked away, her hands tightening in her lap. I didn't always need help. I used to work. Had plans. I wasn't. This. I believe you. It all happened so fast. Job, apartment, Mom's illness. I kept telling myself I'd fix it. That I'd figure it out. But I didn't. I couldn't. He didn't interrupt, just let her speak. I didn't ask for help soon enough, and then it felt like I didn't deserve it. He was quiet a long time before answering. Sometimes, Jamal said, the strongest thing you can do is admit you need help. That's not weakness. That's survival. Kara swallowed hard. Maya's voice rang out from the kitchen window. Daddy, Miss Kara, can we make snow angels later? Jamal smiled. What do you think? Kara smiled too. I think I'd like that. And she meant it. Snow angels. Kara had forgotten what it felt like to fall backward into a fresh, untouched blanket of white. The way the cold soaked instantly through her clothes, the silence of snow against her ears, the rush of childlike abandon, lying beside Maya in the yard, flapping her arms in slow arcs. Kara felt something loosen inside her chest, something she hadn't even realized was clenched. Maya's laughter filled the air, echoing off the wooden fence. Mine looks like it's dancing, she cried. Kara rolled onto her side to admire the angel-shaped imprint. She does. Mine looks more like a starfish. No, Maya insisted. Yours looks like a mommy angel. Kara's breath caught for a moment. She said nothing. Jamal watched from the porch steps, arms crossed over his chest, steaming mug in hand. A soft smile touched his face, but there was something cautious in it too, like a man still trying to believe what he was seeing. Eventually, Maya's fingers started to go numb. Jamal called them in, and Kara helped the girl peel off her snow-crusted coat and boots by the front door. Hot chocolate, Maya announced as if issuing a royal decree. With marshmallows, 5 of them. Kara chuckled. Greedy. She counts them, Jamal said behind her. It's serious business. I'm very fair, Maya said, holding up 5 tiny fingers. 1 for every good deed I did this week. Did I make the list? Kara asked. Maya nodded solemnly. You shared your pancake and made me laugh. That's 2. Also, you held me when I had a nightmare. 3. She's keeping score, Jamal muttered, handing Kara a mug of cocoa. Kara held it between her hands like it was sacred. The sweetness hit her tongue, and for a moment, her eyes stung again. These small things, hot drinks, clean socks, laughter, they hurt now, because they were gentle, because she wasn't used to them anymore. Later that night, Kara sat at the kitchen table with a pen in her hand and an old notebook that Maya had given her. You can use it to draw or write down your dreams, the girl had said. I used the first page already, but the rest is empty, like a fresh start. A fresh start. She stared down at the blank page, the pen hovering. The sounds of the house wrapped around her, the quiet hum of the heater, the creak of wood as Jamal moved about, the occasional sleepy murmur from Maya's room. She began to write. Not a letter, not a journal, just thoughts, words she hadn't said aloud. Things she needed to see in ink to believe they were real. She wrote about her mother's hands, about the way her voice cracked when she was sick but still tried to hum lullabies, about the last time Kara saw her in that hospital bed and the guilt that never quite let go. She wrote about the layoff, the missed rent, the shame. She didn't cry. She just wrote. When the clock struck 11, she returned to the guest room, tucked the notebook under the pillow, and turned out the light. But sleep didn't come easily this time. Something twisted in her chest, a familiar knot of fear, a voice in the back of her mind whispering that none of this could last. That kindness always came with an expiration date. She sat up. In the dim glow from the hallway light, she gathered her things quietly, the worn-out coat, the patched socks, the backpack she had slept with in alleys and waiting rooms. At the kitchen counter, she found a notepad and pen. She wrote, "Thank you. I'm sorry. I can't stay. Kara." She hesitated, then tore the note from the pad and left it where Jamal would see it. The night air slapped her face the moment she stepped outside. She didn't look back. The sidewalk was buried in snow now. Her slippers sank into it with every step. She wrapped her arms around herself and walked toward the main road. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew how it felt when people changed their minds, how warmth could turn cold in a flash. And she couldn't let Maya be disappointed when that happened. Better to leave before they asked her to. She had barely made it halfway down the block when she heard a door fly open. Kara. She turned. Jamal was running down the steps in a flannel shirt and boots, snow crunching under his feet. His voice wasn't angry, it was alarmed. "Kara, wait, stop." She froze. He caught up to her, breathing hard, a thin line of panic in his eyes. "What are you doing?" "I was leaving," she said simply. "Why?" "I didn't want to overstay. I didn't want Maya to get attached." "She's already attached." "That's the problem." Jamal stared at her, his breath misting in the cold. "You think you're protecting her?" "I know I'm not safe to keep around. That's not your decision to make alone." She looked away. This was always going to end. "Then why does it have to be tonight?" She didn't answer. Jamal took a step closer. "You helped my daughter sleep without fear for the first time in weeks. You cleaned our home. You made her laugh. And last night, when she thought she was alone, you stayed." "I'm no one," Kara whispered. "I'm broken. I'm temporary." "Nell, you're human," Jamal said. "And so are we. We're not asking you to fix everything. Just stay." Kara looked at him. "Just for tonight?" He nodded. "Just for tonight." And this time, she believed him. She let him guide her back, step by slow step, through the falling snow. When they reached the porch, Maya was at the door in her pajamas, her stuffed bunny clutched to her chest. "I knew you'd come back," she said sleepily. "I asked the stars." "No." Kara stepped inside and closed the door behind her. This time, it stayed closed. The days that followed slipped into a rhythm Kara had almost forgotten life could offer. In the mornings, Maya woke first, her energy immediate and chaotic, like a bird who knew nothing of sorrow. Her soft humming as she got dressed, her off-key singing of Christmas songs, and her habit of talking to her cereal, each sound became a kind of music in the house. Kara, still unused to comfort, took a little longer to rise. But each day, she found herself pulled from sleep not by hunger or fear, but by the promise of something resembling peace. That Friday morning, snow blanketed the world in silence again. Kara stepped outside to shovel the narrow walkway before Jamal could. She wasn't sure why. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe gratitude. Maybe the sense that if she kept moving, she wouldn't fall apart. Jamal opened the door just as she cleared the last step. "You trying to steal my job?" She turned, panting slightly. "Trying to earn my stay." He smiled, that same quiet smile that never gave too much away. "You already have." Inside, Maya was building a fort from couch cushions and blankets. When she spotted Kara, she popped her head out and yelled, "You're the dragon, but a good one. You guard the queen's treasure." Kara raised an eyebrow. "And who's the queen?" "Me, obviously," Maya said without a trace of humility. Kara played along, roaring softly and curling herself around a pile of stuffed animals like a sleeping dragon. Maya giggled and tossed a pillow at her. That afternoon, Jamal invited Kara to come with them to the church again, not for Sunday service, but for a gathering of the children's group. "I help keep the kids wrangled," he explained, grabbing his coat, "and sometimes fix what they break." Kara hesitated. "Will Sister Johnson be there?" "Most definitely," he said with a chuckle, "but she's not the boss of Grace. Don't worry." They walked together, bundled tightly. Maya held both their hands, swinging between them with each step. At the church, Kara found herself ushered into a small, colorful classroom with folding chairs, a chalkboard, and a worn-out felt board covered in cheerful paper cutouts of biblical figures. A handful of kids were already there, some singing, others arguing about glue sticks. The room buzzed with noise, the kind that could drive you mad or fill a space with life. "She usually likes to draw during group time," Jamal said, pointing at the art table. "You could sit with her. Keep her company." Kara nodded and crossed to the table, where Maya was already busy sketching with a crayon clutched tight in her small hand. "What are you working on?" Kara asked, kneeling beside her. Maya turned the paper to show her. A stick figure Kara was standing next to Maya, both with triangle dresses and wide smiles. Above them, a rainbow arched across the page, and behind them stood a house with a heart in the center. Kara blinked hard. "That's beautiful." "It's our home," Maya said proudly. "And you're in it now." Kara looked down at her lap. The weight of those words pressed deep into her chest. She wasn't sure how long she could stay, how long this borrowed chapter of her life would last. But right now, this moment, it was hers. One of the other children, a shy boy named Terrell, approached with a coloring book and whispered something to Maya. Maya turned to Kara. "Can you help us draw the animals from Noah's Ark? I don't know what a platypus looks like." Kara laughed softly. "Let's find out together." She sat between them, sketching clumsy but enthusiastic giraffes, birds, and what they all agreed was probably not a platypus but close enough. The children giggled, and for the first time, Kara didn't feel like an outsider. She felt like someone who belonged. After the session ended, as the parents trickled in to collect their kids, Sister Johnson passed through the room, casting her usual assessing glance over the children, then hesitantly over Kara. "You good with the little ones?" she said gruffly. "Thank you," Kara replied. "I didn't say it was a compliment," Sister Johnson added, though her voice lacked the usual sting. She moved on without another word. Back at home, Maya brought Kara the same notebook from earlier that week. "You should draw something," she said, "not just write sad stuff." Kara smiled. "You think I can draw?" "You draw with your heart," Maya said, very seriously. "Not your hand." Kara stared at the blank page. Then she picked up a pencil and sketched something simple, a pair of mittens resting on a bus bench. The next day, Jamal found her in the kitchen, cleaning out the fridge and reorganizing the pantry. "You don't have to do that," he said, leaning against the doorway. "I like doing it," Kara replied, brushing her hair out of her eyes. "It feels like, I don't know, like I'm part of something." He nodded slowly. "I get that." They stood in silence for a while. Then Kara turned to him. "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." Do you believe people can really change? I mean, really start over?" Jamal thought for a long moment. "I think people don't change because they're scared no one will let them. But if they find someone who believes they can, yeah, they can." Kara looked away, tears threatening again. "I don't know what to do with that." "You don't have to do anything. Just stay." She smiled faintly. "Just for now." Jamal tilted his head. "For now's been pretty good so far." Dozy. That night, as Kara tucked Maya into bed, the little girl held her hand tightly and whispered, "Don't leave again. Okay? I'm not going anywhere," Kara said softly. "Not tonight." "Okay," Maya yawned. "Then I'll dream of good things." Kara turned off the light and sat in the quiet beside her. Maybe just for now could be enough. Maybe it was already everything. Saturday morning arrived with gray skies and a brittle wind that seemed to crawl through the cracks of the old brick house. Kara stood at the kitchen window in Jamal's borrowed flannel shirt, staring at the street outside, where the snowplow had only half-heartedly cleared the road. The sidewalk remained coated in uneven patches of white and gray, marked with footprints and tire tracks. She took a sip from her coffee mug half full, already lukewarm, and leaned against the counter. It was her third morning in the Williams home. And while she moved through the motions with quiet competence, sweeping, helping with breakfast, folding laundry, there was still a subtle tremble inside her, like something might shatter if she breathed too loud. Behind her, Jamal entered, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. "You're up early," he said, voice still gravelly. "Habit," Kara replied without turning. "You don't get to sleep in when you're homeless." Jamal didn't say anything for a beat. Then softly, "You don't have to keep reminding yourself you're not safe. Not here." Kara turned to face him. "It's not that I don't feel safe. It's that I don't know what I'm allowed to feel." Before Jamal could answer, Maya barreled into the room in a tangle of curls and cotton pajamas. "It's Saturday," she declared. "Yes, it is," Jamal said, kneeling to kiss her forehead, "which means pancakes again." Kara smiled. "You sure she's not going to stage a rebellion if it's anything else?" "I'm sure she'd forgive me," he said, standing. "But I'm not taking chances." As the kitchen filled with the smell of butter and batter, Kara found herself relaxing into the moment. Maya danced around to music from a small radio on the counter, Aretha Franklin, crooning something sweet and powerful. Kara caught herself humming along, but the warmth didn't last. Later that afternoon, Kara walked alone to the corner store. The air had warmed slightly, and she wanted to stretch her legs, to test her footing again in a world that felt like it was starting to accept her. She carried a short list from Jamal: eggs, milk, a jar of peanut butter. Maya insisted needed to have the red lid, not the blue. Inside the store, the cashier barely glanced at her. The place was small, local, with low shelves and chipped linoleum floors. As she wandered through the aisles, she noticed a woman watching her. Middle-aged, sharp eyes, tight scarf wrapped around her neck. The kind of woman Kara had seen her whole life, lips pressed tight, eyes always measuring. Their eyes met briefly. The woman looked away, but Kara felt the weight of it even as she reached for the milk. By the time she reached the register, she was tense. The cashier, an older man with a nasal voice, rang her up slowly. Then he paused, holding the peanut butter. "You the one staying with Jamal Williams?" Kara stiffened. "Yes." The man raised his eyebrows, unimpressed. "He doesn't usually bring in strays." Her cheeks burned. "I'm just helping out." He didn't respond. Just bagged the items and slid them across the counter. Kara left quickly, heart pounding. The wind stung her cheeks as she walked. She kept her head down. But the feeling stayed with her like someone had scratched at her skin from the inside out. At dinner, she said nothing. Jamal noticed. "Everything okay?" he asked as they cleared the table. "Fine," Kara replied. Too quickly. Later that night, Jamal knocked gently on the door to the guest room. Kara was sitting on the edge of the bed, clutching the same notebook Maya had given her. "Can I come in?" She nodded. He stepped inside, arms crossed. "I heard something today. One of the women at the church. Latrice." Kara closed the notebook. "What did she say?" "That people are talking, that you've been seen around, that you're suspicious." Kara laughed bitterly. "Suspicious? Because I exist? Because you're not from here, and you're white, and you're staying with me. That's enough for some folks." She nodded slowly. "I felt it at the store. The guy behind the counter. He looked at me like I was trash he couldn't throw away." Jamal sat on the chair near the window. "I'm sorry. You don't have to apologize for them." "I'm not. I'm apologizing because I know what it feels like to be judged for something you didn't choose." Kara looked at him. "You don't think I'm dangerous?" "No," he said firmly. "I think you're hurting. That's not the same." She exhaled. "You ever worry this will come back on you? That someone's going to ask too many questions and I'll mess up the life you've built?" Jamal was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Sometimes I do. But then I remember that Maya hasn't had a nightmare in days. That she smiles more. That the house feels different with you in it." Kara blinked, caught off guard. You're not a burden, Kara, he added. You're part of something, whether you believe it yet or not. Kara looked down at the notebook again. She'd drawn something that morning, a pair of open hands holding a single spark. I'm trying, she whispered, to believe it. That's all I ask. That night, as Kara lay in bed, she listened to the sounds of the house, the gentle clink of dishes being dried, the hum of the heater kicking in, Maya's soft singing from her room. She still didn't know how long this could last, but maybe that didn't matter, because for now, just for now, she was here, and someone knew her name. Sunday morning came with sun glinting off rooftops, turning yesterday's gray snow into something clean and almost magical. The living room windows steamed gently from the warmth inside, where Jamal stood adjusting his tie in the hallway mirror, while Maya twirled in a white dress dotted with tiny silver stars. Do I look like a snow princess? She asked, spinning with arms outstretched. You look like royalty, Jamal said, smiling. Kara leaned against the doorway, holding her borrowed coat, watching them with a softness in her eyes. You're going to blind everyone in that dress. Maya beamed. That's the point. Kara had been dreading this Sunday, another visit to the church, more eyes on her, more judgment whispered behind carefully polite smiles, but Maya had insisted. You have to come, she'd said. We sit together now. You're part of our pew. Kara couldn't say no to that. She stood beside them as they walked to the church, Maya in the middle, hands in both of theirs. The air was sharp, but sunlight warmed their shoulders, and for a moment Kara let herself feel something that felt dangerously close to joy. The sanctuary was already half full when they entered. The choir was rehearsing a slow gospel hymn, and the scent of pine and wood polish lingered in the air. Wreaths hung from each column, tied with red velvet. Candles flickered at the base of the altar. Kara followed Jamal and Maya to their regular seats, third pew from the front, left side. She kept her head down, but she felt the looks anyway. Curious, cautious, measuring. She could almost hear them. That's her? The white girl Jamal took in? She stiffened, but Maya tugged her sleeve. It's okay, the girl whispered. You're with us. The choir director, a short, round woman in a deep purple dress, called the group to order. The music swelled slowly, a hymn Kara didn't recognize. The harmonies were layered, soft at first, then rising like a tide. Kara found herself leaning forward slightly, drawn in. She'd never heard gospel like this up close. It wasn't polished like the choirs on TV. It was raw, full of breath and imperfection and soul. It sounded like struggle, like people who had been through something and were still here. Her eyes stung unexpectedly. Maya nestled beside her, head leaning gently on her arm. Jamal's voice joined in during the chorus, low, not perfect, but strong. Kara didn't sing, but something inside her did. When the song ended, the congregation stood for the announcements. Sister Johnson stepped to the front, notes in hand, spectacles perched low on her nose. As we move into Christmas week, she began, we're reminded of how community is a place of refuge and responsibility. Kara shifted in her seat, unsure whether the statement was meant for her. This is the season, Sister Johnson continued, when we look after one another, not because we expect something in return, but because it's what the Lord expects of us. A few murmurs of amen rippled through the pews. And sometimes, she added, eyes flicking just briefly toward Kara, the ones we welcome are the very ones who end up blessing us. More amens this time. Kara blinked, startled. After service, the lobby buzzed with chatter. Maya tugged Kara from hand to hand, introducing her like a prize she'd won at a fair. This is Miss Kara. She lives with us now. Some people nodded politely. Others offered small smiles. A few still glanced sideways. But one woman tall, maybe early 50s, with box braids and kind eyes, took Kara's hand and squeezed gently. You're welcome here, she said. Whatever brought you here, I hope it brings you peace too. Thank you, Kara murmured stunned. Back at home, they had leftovers for lunch, roast chicken, sweet potatoes, and greens, Jamal reheated from the night before. Maya insisted on pouring water into the plastic goblets she'd found in a kitchen drawer, declaring it a Sunday feast. Duali's, Kara helped clear the table, then drifted to the living room, where an old upright piano sat in the corner. She hadn't noticed it before. You play? Jamal asked. stepping in behind her. A little, she said. Used to. My mom taught me when I was a kid, before life got complicated. Complicated tends to steal things like music, he said quietly. Kara sat down and pressed a single key. It was out of tune, but it rang. She played a simple melody, halting, soft, a lullaby she hadn't touched in years. Maya appeared like a whisper. That's pretty. I'm rusty. It sounds like bedtime, Maya said, curling into the armchair. Jamal said nothing, just stood quietly, listening. Kara stopped playing after a minute and looked at her hands. I didn't think I'd ever want to hear music again, let alone make it. Jamal stepped forward. You don't have to force joy, but it's okay to let it come. That night, as Kara sat by Maya's bed, the little girl clutched a stuffed bunny to her chest and whispered, when you sang with the piano, it felt like Mommy was in the room. Kara smiled gently. Do you miss her every day? Yeah, Maya said, but sometimes it hurts less when you're here. Kara kissed her forehead. Sweet dreams, Maya. As she turned off the light and closed the door, she paused in the hallway. Somewhere downstairs, Jamal was humming the hymn from church under his breath, and Kara realized she hadn't felt like a ghost all day. Kara woke the next morning to the quiet murmur of voices downstairs, a low rumble that drifted through the thin walls like a hum of daily life she had forgotten to expect. For a moment she lay still, listening. No footsteps pacing outside her shelter, no harsh shouts in the alley, no buses hissing to a stop, just a home settling into a new day. She rose slowly, stretching her arms and feeling the pull of muscles that had been too cold, too tight for too long. The slippers waited for her as always. She slipped into them and padded down the hallway. In the kitchen, Jamal was on the phone, his back to the doorway. He spoke in a hushed tone, but Kara could still hear enough to sense seriousness in the words. Yes, I understand, he said. I'll bring the paperwork by tomorrow. Pause. No, she's fine. No trouble here. Just keep the line open, please. Kara lingered halfway down the hall, not wanting to intrude. When he hung up, she cleared her throat softly. Everything okay? Jamal turned slightly, startled. Then he forced a smile. Morning. Yeah, everything's fine. Just the school district trying to sort out winter break schedules. It was an easy lie, too easy. He had that tone of voice people used when sparing someone feelings they weren't sure she could handle. Before she could ask anything else, Maya burst into the kitchen like a sparkler. Miss Kara, guess what day it is? Kara smiled. Monday? No, it's library day. Jamal handed Kara a folded note. I called the branch nearby. They said they're hiring part-time help front desk work, shelving books, basic admin tasks. If you're up for it, I can drive you there. Your experience at your old job will help. Kara stared at the paper, her breath catching slightly. You did this for me? You need something that's yours, Jamal said. Something not tied to this house. Something you can build. Maya looped her arms around Kara's waist. You're gonna be the best book lady ever. Kara laughed, though tears pricked the corners of her eyes. I hope so. After breakfast cereal for Maya, eggs and toast for the adults, they bundled into the car. It was an old Ford Taurus with a heater that wheezed like it had smoked 100 cigarettes in its youth. But the warmth was enough. As they drove, snowflakes drifted against the windshield, melting in uneven trails. The radio played softly old soul music, Marvin Gaye humming through static. Maya sat in the back seat humming along and tapping her boots together. Kara sat up front, palms sweating despite the cold. This doesn't have to be permanent, Jamal said gently, sensing her nerves. Just a step. I'm scared I'm going to ruin it, Kara whispered. You won't. Doubly. His voice left no room for doubt. The library was a modest brick building with wide front windows and a fading banner that read, Winter Book Drive. Spread the warmth. Inside, it smelled of old pages, floor cleaner, and quiet patience. The manager, a tall, white-haired woman named Mrs. Hallett, greeted them warmly. You must be Kara. Jamal said you were interested. Kara nodded. Yes, ma'am. I love to read, and I'm good with numbers. I used to handle invoices at my old job. No. Used to? Mrs. Hallett asked. Kara inhaled slowly. I fell on hard times. Mrs. Hallett's eyes softened. Hard times are temporary. Skill is forever. She walked Kara through the library, showing her the children's corner. The old card catalog they kept for nostalgia. The donation shelves lined with gently used novels. Maya darted between stacks like a tiny explorer, occasionally popping out to announce the discovery of a book about dinosaurs or outer space. At the end of the tour, Mrs. Hallett placed a hand on Kara's arm. We could use someone like you for the holiday rush. It's part-time for now. But if things go well, nothing's impossible. Kara swallowed hard. Thank you. Start tomorrow, the woman said. And don't be late. Librarians may be gentle, but we still have rules. Back in the car, Maya squealed. You got the job. You got the job. Kara covered her mouth, overwhelmed. I can't believe it. La. Jamal looked at her for a long moment before starting the engine. Believe it. But on the drive home, as the car passed a small mural painted on a brick wall, an image of clasped hands under the words "Never Alone," Kara's smile faded. A thought tugged at her. Jamal, she said quietly. Who were you really on the phone with this morning? He kept his eyes on the road. Just someone from the district. You don't have to protect me. He hesitated, then sighed. It was social services, he admitted. Kara's heart plummeted. About me? No. About Maya's school records. There was a mix-up with her emergency contact forms. They needed an update. Nothing dangerous. Kara exhaled shakily. Oh, and Kara, he added, turning to her at a red light. If anything like that ever involved you, I'd tell you. I don't keep secrets from people I'm trying to help. She nodded, her heartbeat slowing. Back home, the afternoon rolled in quietly. Kara helped Maya build a gingerbread house at the kitchen table, using too much icing and laughing when the candy roof collapsed. Jamal worked on repairing a loose cabinet door nearby, occasionally glancing over at them with a hidden smile. By evening, a peace settled over the house like a blanket. Maya fell asleep on the couch, belly full of cookies, head resting on Kara's lap. Jamal stood in the doorway watching them. You fit here, he said softly. Kara looked up, startled. What? He nodded toward Maya's sleeping form. This house hasn't felt like a home in a long time. But lately, it has. Kara brushed a curl from Maya's forehead. This is temporary. Maybe, Jamal said. Or maybe it's something beginning. She wanted to believe him. She feared believing him. As she carried Maya to bed later that night, the girl stirred, whispering half asleep, Don't leave, Miss Kara, okay? Kara kissed her cheek. I'm here, sweetheart. Nye. Back in her room, Kara looked at the folded library paper on her nightstand. A start date, a chance, a small doorway opening. She whispered into the quiet, Please, let me not ruin this. It was the sound that brought her awake. Not the pleasant rattle of a radiator. Not Maya's little feet padding across the floor. It was sharp, metallic, the unmistakable crash of something breaking. Kara jolted upright in bed, her heart racing. In the hallway, faint voices raised, unfamiliar, male, not Jamal's. She jumped to her feet, bare toes hitting cold floorboards, and cracked the door open. Maya's room across the hall was dark and silent. Kara crept to the stairs and leaned over the banister. In the entryway below, the front door hung wide open, snow drifting in across the threshold. Two men stood inside, one in a thick sheriff's jacket, the other in plain clothes with a notepad. Jamal stood between them, hands raised, calm but tense. This isn't necessary, he was saying. There's a child in this house. Lower your voices. Sir, we received a report, the officer in uniform interrupted. We're obligated to follow up. A report from who? Jamal asked, trying to keep his voice steady. We don't disclose source. Kara's heart thudded against her ribs. She descended one step, then another. The plainclothes officer turned, spotting her. You must be Kara Lynn Halbrook, he said. She froze. Why? Yes. He pulled something from his jacket pocket. A thin folder. Mind coming down? We have some questions. Jamal looked at her, and the look in his eyes wasn't fear, it was fury, quiet and protective. I'll go, Kara said quickly. It's okay. It wasn't okay. In the living room, Kara sat on the edge of the couch while the two officers remained standing. Jamal hovered nearby, arms crossed, his jaw clenched so tight it looked painful. "This'll be quick," the plainclothes man said, flipping through the folder. "It says here you were employed at a financial services firm upstate?" "Yes," Kara said, her voice tight. "I was laid off 9 months ago, after a formal warning about improper access to sensitive documents." Kara's stomach dropped. "I never accessed anything illegally. It was a misunderstanding." The officer nodded slowly, as if humoring her. "And since then, you've been—" "Where?" "Shelters. Couch surfing. On the street. Until recently." "And now?" "I'm staying with Jamal Williams. Just temporarily." "Are you receiving any social services? Unemployment benefits?" Kara's voice caught. "No." "Do you have a formal residence? ID?" "No," she whispered. The man closed the folder. "Miss Halbrook, someone filed a concern about your presence in a home with a minor." Kara's breath caught. "What?" "They claim you've inserted yourself into the family under false pretenses, that you're a threat to the child's well-being." "Oh." "That's a lie," Jamal snapped. "She's done nothing but help us." The officer raised a hand. "We're not accusing anyone yet. But given her record and her current status, we have to follow up. We're not removing anyone today. This is a welfare check. But I need you to understand, if another report comes in—" "You'll take her," Jamal finished, bitter. The officer didn't confirm. He didn't have to. They left with cold efficiency, boots crunching through the snow without a glance back. Kara sat frozen on the couch, her face pale. "It's happening again," she whispered. Jamal crouched in front of her. "No, it's not. I'm not letting them drag you through that again." "I should leave," she said. "No. They're watching. They're going to keep watching. I can't be the reason Maya gets hurt." "You're not," Jamal said firmly. "Maya isn't scared of you. She trusts you. I trust you. But trust doesn't mean anything to them," Kara said, her voice rising. "All they see is a broke white woman who's lost everything. No home, no job, no family. That's all they'll ever see." Jamal stood, pacing the room now. "We'll fight it. We'll get ahead of it. You just started a job at the library. We'll get your ID reissued. We'll document everything. I'll talk to Sister Johnson, get character references. We're not folding just because someone made a phone call." Kara's voice was almost too soft to hear. "It was probably that woman at the store. Or Sister Johnson. Or—" Jamal looked at her sharply. "Don't guess. Don't let paranoia write your story. That's how you start to vanish again." She swallowed hard. "But what if I already have?" That evening, Kara couldn't eat. She cleaned. Obsessively. She reorganized the pantry twice. Wiped down already clean counters. Folded every towel in the linen closet. Maya watched her quietly, picking up on the storm under the surface. At bedtime, Maya touched Kara's arm and whispered, "Are you scared?" Kara knelt. "A little, yeah. Don't be. Daddy says scared people still do brave things." Kara smiled, eyes stinging. "He's right." Maya leaned in close and kissed Kara's cheek. "You're my brave thing." After tucking Maya in, Kara stepped into the hallway where Jamal waited. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For all of it. For bringing trouble to your doorstep." He shook his head. "This house has had silence and sadness for too long. Trouble's better than ghosts." She laughed softly. "That's not exactly comforting." He stepped closer. "Let me help. Let me fight with you." She wanted to say yes. She wanted to collapse into that promise, to lean fully into someone's protection. But she couldn't, not yet. "I'll think about it," she whispered. That night, she returned to the notebook and wrote 2 lines. "People don't disappear all at once. They fade, like old photos in sunlit windows. And underneath, for the first time, but maybe this time, I won't fade. Maybe someone will hold me here." Snow fell heavy again the next morning, blanketing the city in a white hush. Kara stood at the bus stop, with her coat pulled tight and a canvas bag clutched to her chest. Inside were her lunch, her library schedule, and her newly reissued ID, the one Jamal had helped her apply for at the DMV after waiting in line for 2 hours while Maya played games on his phone. It wasn't much. But it was something. A document that said she existed, that she had a name, a birthday, a state that recognized her. The bus pulled up with a hiss. Kara stepped on board, nodding to the driver, and found a seat in the middle row. She settled in, letting the rhythm of the ride soothe her nerves, until she saw him, third row from the front, same man from yesterday, one of the officers. Not in uniform this time. Wearing a dark coat, reading a paper, pretending to be just another commuter. Kara stared. He didn't look up, but she knew. Her gut twisted. Someone had followed her. At the library, Kara focused on the mundane. She shelved books. She organized returns. She cleaned up a display table of cookbooks that some children had turned into a fort. She smiled politely at patrons and answered questions when asked. All the while, the weight of invisible eyes stayed with her. During lunch break, Mrs. Hallett joined her in the back room. "You're doing well," she said, sipping tea. Quiet, but solid. Kara smiled thinly. "Thank you." The woman studied her a moment. "You okay, Kara?" Kara hesitated, then shook her head. "Not really." "Mrs. Hallett reached into her coat and pulled out a small thermos. "Chamomile. Helps with the weight." Kara accepted the cup. "Do you believe people can change?" she asked suddenly. Mrs. Hallett tilted her head. "I believe most people already have. We're always changing. Some of us are just trying to change in the right direction." Kara nodded slowly. As she returned to the front desk later that day, she spotted him again. The same man, pretending to browse the historical fiction section, not checking out, not talking, just lingering. Kara gripped the counter, her knuckles white. She wanted to scream, to walk up and shout, "What are you looking for? What do you want?" But she didn't. Instead, she calmly walked to the reference desk and picked up the phone. "Jamal?" she whispered. "Yeah, he's here." There was no pause. "Stay inside. I'll be there in 10. When Jamal arrived, the man was gone. "He left 5 minutes ago," Kara said, her voice trembling. "I didn't even see him go." Jamal looked furious. "This isn't a checkup. This is surveillance." "I didn't do anything," she said. "Why won't they believe that?" "Because people like to build villains out of the vulnerable. It's easier than admitting they're wrong." He placed a hand on her back. "You're going to finish your shift. I'll sit nearby. Let them see that you're not alone." Kara swallowed hard. "Okay." The rest of the afternoon passed in a quiet blur. No more strange visitors, no more shadows at the shelves, but the feeling lingered, like smoke after a fire. When they got home, Kara went straight to the kitchen, hands shaking. Maya sat at the table with crayons spread everywhere. She looked up and smiled. "I made a picture," she said. Kara approached, forcing her expression to soften. "Can I see?" Maya turned the page. It showed 3 stick figures, one tall with brown skin, one shorter with yellow hair, and one tiny girl in a blue dress. Above them, a sun, a house, a rainbow. "You wrote our names," Kara said, pointing. Maya beamed. "It's our family now." Kara's throat closed. She crouched, wrapping her arms around the girl. Jamal entered the room a moment later, eyes watching them both. "You okay?" he asked Kara. "I don't know," she whispered. "They're going to keep coming, aren't they?" "They might," Jamal said. "But so will we." She looked up at him. "You still trust me? After everything?" "I trust what I see, and what I see is someone trying harder than anyone I've ever known." That night, as Kara stood at the window watching the snow fall under the porch light, she heard Maya call out from her room. Kara went to her, sitting on the edge of the bed. "Are we safe?" Maya asked sleepily. Kara tucked the blanket under her chin. "Yes, baby. We're safe. Even when the world is mean?" Kara thought for a long moment. "We're safe," she said again, "because we have each other." Later, in the still of the hallway, Jamal passed her a folder. "What's this?" she asked. "Letters. From neighbors, the church, people who know you now. Character references, in case we need them." Kara took the folder slowly, stunned. "You didn't have to do this," she said. He looked her in the eye. "Yes, I did." Kara turned the corner into her room, opened the folder, and ran her fingers over the pages. Words, names, witnesses, people who believed in her story, people who saw her. For the first time in a long time, She let herself believe that maybe she could be more than what they whispered about her. That maybe she already was. Friday morning started like any other. A quiet hush settled over the Williams house. Kara was already up before dawn, folding laundry in the living room, trying to calm the storm in her chest with the repetitive rhythm of socks and shirts. She glanced out the frosted window. Snow still covered the sidewalks, but the sky had cleared. A stillness lingered, a kind that felt too quiet to be safe. By the time Maya bounded into the kitchen and Jamal followed with a sleepy smile, Kara had eggs cooking and toast already buttered. Jamal arched an eyebrow. "You're spoiling us," he said. Kara offered a smile. "I needed something to keep my hands busy." Maya clapped her hands. "We're doing reading circle today. Miss Jenkins said I can bring a grown-up to class." Kara glanced at Jamal. He rubbed his jaw. "I've got back-to-back roofing estimates today. We're behind after last week's snow." Maya turned her hopeful eyes to Kara. Kara froze. "You'd be doing me a favor," Jamal said gently. "You don't have to say yes." Kara looked at Maya, her wide brown eyes, her toothy grin, her little hand reaching up to grab hers. "I'll come," Kara whispered. At 9:45 a.m., Kara stood outside room 2B at the elementary school, smoothing her skirt. Her hands trembled slightly as she glanced around the hallway. Bright construction paper lined the walls, glued on stars, tiny mittens, glittering snowflakes made by small hands. A sign on the door read, "Today is a reading celebration day." Inside, a woman with warm eyes and graying braids opened the door. "You must be Miss Kara." "Yes, Kara Halbrook. I'm Miss Jenkins. Maya's been buzzing all week about your visit." "No." Kara followed her into the classroom, where a semicircle of children sat on a rug, and a few other adults took their places behind small desks. Kara found a spot near the back and watched as Maya waved from her seat like she was signaling a plane. Miss Jenkins clapped her hands. "Who's excited to share a book today?" The kids erupted with cheers. Kara smiled. Maya chose a picture book about a lonely cloud trying to find where it belonged. As she read aloud, stumbling occasionally over longer words, Kara saw something she hadn't noticed before. Maya's voice carried strength, confidence, and joy. When it was over, Maya returned to her seat and looked straight at Kara. "My book is about someone like Miss Kara," she said to the class. Kara blinked. She didn't know where she belonged, but then she found us. The room went quiet. Some children stared. A couple of parents shifted uncomfortably. Miss Jenkins, ever the pro, smiled brightly. "That's a beautiful connection, Maya. Thank you for sharing." But Kara felt the stares crawl across her skin. She excused herself early. Outside, Kara stood by the chain-link fence, her breath turning into clouds in the winter air. She stared at the playground and tried to hold herself together. Then she heard footsteps crunching snow. "Kara?" It was Miss Jenkins. "I'm sorry," Kara said quickly. "I didn't mean to cause any—" "You didn't cause anything," Miss Jenkins interrupted gently. Kara glanced at her. "Some of the parents, they looked at me like I was poison." Miss Jenkins nodded slowly. "This neighborhood has its share of ghosts, and when a white woman walks into a black school, especially in the role of mother, some people get defensive. I'm not Maya's mother." Miss Jenkins smiled. "You don't have to be her blood to love her." Kara looked away, blinking fast. "I just don't want to ruin what Jamal's built." Miss Jenkins stepped closer. "You've given that child light. You can't fake that." Then, in a softer voice, "Don't run just because people are uncomfortable. Sometimes that means you're exactly where you're supposed to be." That night, back at the house, Kara told Jamal everything: the stairs, Maya's speech, Miss Jenkins' kindness. He listened without interrupting. Then he reached for her hand across the table. "You know," he said, "I used to think being strong meant staying out of trouble, keeping quiet, keeping things clean and polite so nobody had an excuse. And now, I think real strength is staying visible, staying honest, even when it hurts." Kara nodded. "I'm trying." "You're doing better than trying." Maya came barreling into the kitchen just then. "Can I sleep in Miss Kara's room tonight?" Kara looked at Jamal, unsure. He chuckled. Maya turned her full attention to Kara, clasping her hands like a tiny actress. "I brought my bunny. He's scared of the storm." "There's no storm, sweetie," Kara said, smiling. Maya leaned close. "But he doesn't know that." Kara laughed. "Okay, just for tonight. Later, as Maya drifted off under Kara's borrowed quilt, Kara sat in the dim glow of the nightlight. She watched the small chest rise and fall. She ran a hand through Maya's curls and whispered, "You don't have to worry. I'll stay as long as I can." Just as she reached for her notebook, a sound tore through the quiet. A sharp beep, then another, then a chorus of alarms. The smoke detectors. Kara jumped to her feet. In the hallway, Jamal was already out of his room, barefoot, looking down the stairs. A faint haze of gray drifted up from the kitchen. "What's happening?" Kara shouted, grabbing Maya. "I don't know, stay upstairs." But it was too late. The back window in the kitchen was open, the curtain smoldering, a burning rag on the counter. "Someone threw something in," Jamal yelled. "A firebomb, it's small, but..." He grabbed the extinguisher from under the sink and doused it. The foam hissed, covering the smoke. The fire died, but the message remained. Someone had sent a warning. Not a phone call, not a look. Fire. Jamal called the police. Kara held Maya in her arms, whispering lullabies she hadn't remembered in years. Her hands trembled, and when the officers arrived, different ones this time, one of them picked up the scorched cloth and examined it. "No note," he said, "but this wasn't random." Jamal nodded grimly. "We know." As they cleared, the last traces of smoke and silence returned. Kara sat on the couch with Maya sleeping against her shoulder. She looked at Jamal. "Still think we're safe?" He sat beside her. "No, but we're ready." Kara held Maya tighter. She wasn't going anywhere. The morning after the firebomb attack was unnaturally quiet, the kind of silence that hums in your bones and makes every sound feel like it echoes forever. Kara sat at the kitchen table, staring at the singe marks on the cabinet above the sink. The firefighters had cleared the scene the night before. The kitchen was safe. The house was standing. But something deeper had cracked some invisible thread inside her that had been holding. Jamal entered the room in sweatpants and a hoodie, holding 2 steaming mugs. He slid one toward her. Coffee. Black. Just the way she'd started taking it lately. No sugar. No frills. No illusions. "They've ruled out accident," he said, sitting across from her. "Preliminary report says deliberate ignition. No fingerprints. No video." Kara cradled the mug with both hands. "So nothing?" Jamal shook his head. "Not nothing. Someone came onto this property. They meant to scare us. That's something. I thought we were past this," she whispered. "I thought this kind of thing didn't happen anymore. Not like this." He looked at her for a long time. "You think we're past this because you're used to disappearing, hiding. But some people? They hate when someone like you stops hiding." Kara looked up. "Someone like me? You're not just a charity case anymore. You're part of this house. You've become visible. That makes you a threat." Kara laughed bitterly. "Me? A threat?" "Yeah, because you refused to stay broken." Later that day, they took Maya to Sister Johnson's community center. The building was old but sturdy, with peeling white paint and windows that looked like they'd survived more than one hard winter. It was the only place Jamal trusted for a few hours of safety. Inside, the children gathered for art lessons. Maya joined them happily, waving her purple crayon in the air like a sword. "She'll be fine here," Sister Johnson said, ushering Jamal and Kara into her office. "Now tell me the truth. What happened?" Jamal closed the door and explained. Kara sat quietly, letting him take the lead. When he finished, Sister Johnson leaned back, frowning deeply. "Lord have mercy," she muttered. "You sure it wasn't just some fool playing a prank?" Jamal's voice was calm, low. "This wasn't a prank. It was a message." Sister Johnson nodded. "Then we respond with light, not fear, but also wisdom. You need eyes on the house. Cameras. Motion sensors. I'll make some calls." Kara finally spoke. "Why would someone do this? Why would they go so far just to what? Push me out?" Sister Johnson's gaze sharpened. "Because some people still believe where you come from matters more than where you're going. Because you crossed a line, poor, white, woman, broken, and instead of staying in the margins, you're standing in the middle of a black man's home, helping raise his child, loving her." Kara blinked. "But I'm not trying to replace anyone. I know that. But hate don't care about your intentions. It only needs a spark. That evening, Kara and Jamal went to the hardware store and picked up a basic security system, motion lights, cameras for the porch, and reinforced locks. The cashier looked at them strangely as they piled gear onto the counter. "Big night planned?" he joked. Jamal gave a tight smile. "Something like that." Back at home, they worked side by side installing the system. Maya helped by handing them tools from her toy toolbox. Kara watched as Jamal adjusted the camera angle above the front door. "You've done this before?" she asked. "Couple years back. Had to do it for a neighbor who kept getting their car keyed." "Did it help?" "Not really," he said, "but it made him feel seen." Kara thought about that as she set up the monitor on the hallway table. Feeling seen. It was something she had both craved and feared her entire life. That night, Jamal cooked dinner macaroni and cheese with baked chicken and collard greens. Kara wasn't hungry, but she ate anyway. Maya chattered happily about her art class and the glitter explosion that had covered the floor. As they ate, Kara asked quietly, "Do you think whoever did it will come back?" Jamal didn't answer right away. He glanced at Maya, then back to Kara. "I don't know," he admitted, "but we'll be ready if they do." After dinner, Kara cleaned up while Jamal gave Maya her bath. The water splashing upstairs mixed with Maya's giggles. And for a brief moment, Kara felt like this was her house too, like the danger hadn't undone everything. She sat down on the couch, pulled out her notebook, and began to write. "They think fear will drive me back into the shadows, but what they don't know is that I learned to breathe in the dark." Just then, her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She answered cautiously. "Hello?" A pause. Then a voice. Low and slow. Male. Unfamiliar. "You don't belong there." Kara froze. "I know who you are. I know what you did upstate. You can pretend to be someone else, but the truth always finds you." Click. The line went dead. Kara's hand trembled. Upstairs, Maya laughed again. Oblivious. Safe. For now. Jamal returned minutes later and saw Kara's face. "What happened?" She handed him the phone. He read the number. "Blocked. Of course. I don't know how he got it," she whispered. "I haven't given that number out in months." Jamal didn't hesitate. He grabbed his coat. "Where are you going?" she asked. "To file a police report." "They won't do anything." "Maybe not, but a paper trail matters." Kara looked down at the notebook in her lap. "They're not just trying to scare me," she said. "They want me to believe I'll never outrun my past." Jamal leaned down and kissed her forehead. "Then it's time to prove them wrong." And as the door closed behind him, Kara whispered to herself, "I'm still here." The next few days passed in a blur of tension disguised as routine. Kara continued working at the library, checking in books and shelving returns with mechanical precision. Maya returned to school like nothing had happened, her world still wrapped in the warmth of innocence. Jamal doubled down on work and security. Cameras were active, alarms tested nightly, and each door was double-checked before bed. But underneath it all, a quiet dread lingered. One evening, as Kara walked home from the library alone, her breath clouded in the frigid air. The street was quiet, too quiet. Her boots crunched softly on snow-dusted pavement as she passed shuttered stores and closed cafes. She'd taken the long route home after her shift, just to clear her head. She wanted to believe the worst had passed. Then she saw the car. It was parked across from the house, engine idling, headlights off, tinted windows. Kara's steps slowed. Her pulse quickened. She reached into her coat pocket for her phone, her fingers cold and fumbling. The car didn't move. She took another step. Then the driver's window rolled down. Kara's breath caught. A man leaned out, pale skin, middle-aged, cold eyes that flicked over her like a scanner. "Miss Halbrook," he said flatly. "You're harder to track than expected." "Who are you?" Her voice trembled. "I represent a concerned party," he said, "one with ties to your previous employer." Kara's knees went weak. "What do you want?" "To remind you," he said, "that your past doesn't disappear because you found yourself a new bed to sleep in." "I didn't do anything wrong," she said. "You accessed files you weren't authorized to see. You stirred things up that were meant to stay buried." Her voice sharpened. "I accessed them because I found evidence of fraud. I wanted to protect people. And look what it cost you," the man said, tilting his head. "Your job. Your home. Your life. Don't make the mistake of thinking you're safe now. He rolled the window up. The car pulled away. Kara stood frozen on the sidewalk long after it vanished into the darkness. Inside the house, the warmth hit her like a wave. Jamal looked up from the couch, immediately sensing her mood. You okay? No, Kara whispered. He found me. She explained everything. The man. The reference to the files. Her old job. The scandal she'd tried to expose. Jamal listened silently, hands clenched, jaw locked. I should have told you, she said. I didn't want you to see me as damaged. He stepped closer, his voice steady. You're not damaged. You're a survivor. But now I've put Maya in danger. She's not in danger, he said. Because we're not going to let that happen. She looked up at him, eyes wide. You still believe me? With everything I've got. That night, Kara couldn't sleep. She sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea, the glow of the hallway light casting shadows on the floor. Her fingers tapped against the mug's ceramic. Over and over. A rhythm of worry. Then footsteps. She turned, expecting Jamal, but it was Maya, barefoot, bunny clutched tight to her chest, sleepy eyes blinking in the dim light. I had a bad dream, Maya said softly. Kara opened her arms without hesitation. Maya crawled onto her lap, curling into her like she belonged there. What was it about? Kara asked. There was a loud noise, and a fire, and Daddy wasn't home, and you were gone. Kara swallowed. I'm not going anywhere, sweetie. You promise? Kara kissed her hair. I promise. They sat like that for a long time. Eventually, Maya's breathing slowed. Then she whispered, You're not like the people from my dreams. You're warm. Oh. Kara smiled, tears rising. The next morning, Kara and Jamal sat at the kitchen table before Maya woke. We can't keep reacting, Kara said. We need to do something. Like what? I think it's time I tell my side of the story. The full story. Publicly. Jamal looked alarmed. You mean media? Kara nodded. A journalist. Someone who can verify what I found. If I go back into hiding, they win. If I speak up, maybe I can protect myself and others. Jamal leaned back. That's dangerous. End quote. So is silence. He looked at her, pride and worry fighting in his eyes. If you do this, I'll stand with you. But you better be ready. Kara looked toward the living room, where Maya's drawings still covered the fridge and her laughter lingered like perfume. I'm ready. The air inside the house was tense with anticipation the following week. Kara sat at the kitchen table, staring at the contact info for a local journalist that Sister Johnson had passed along a woman named Denise Campbell, known for reporting on corruption and whistleblower cases. Her articles had once brought down a city commissioner. She didn't scare easily. Still, Kara hesitated before dialing the number. What if this backfired? What if this made things worse? But then she glanced at the hallway, where Maya's tiny snow boots sat next to Jamal's work boots. One life just starting, one life built with quiet sacrifice, and in between them, hers. She took a breath, dialed, a few rings, then a confident, gravelly voice. This is Denise. Kara swallowed. My name is Kara Halbrook. I used to work at Peninsula Financial Group. I have something I think you'll want to hear. There was a pause. Then, I'm listening. They met the next afternoon at a quiet diner on the west side of town. Kara wore a knit cap pulled low and a borrowed coat. Jamal insisted on driving her and waited in the car outside, watching the door like a sentinel. Inside, Denise was already seated, mid-50s, black-framed glasses, a pen poised above her notepad like a weapon ready to strike. You've got 10 minutes, she said. After that, I either walk or order pie. Kara smiled nervously. Fair enough. No. She started from the beginning. Her time as a junior analyst, her discovery of internal reports showing misappropriated funds in client accounts, how she'd flagged the anomalies, and how her access was suddenly revoked. Then the formal warning. Then the termination. No chance to appeal. I didn't steal anything, she said. I didn't tamper. I just asked the wrong questions. And then? Denise asked, scribbling. Kara's voice softened. Then I lost everything. My apartment, my savings, my dignity. No one would hire me after that. It's like I was blacklisted. Denise looked up. Do you have any of those documents? No. But I remember names, codes, dates. I know what to look for. And I know someone tried to make me disappear. Denise stared at her for a long time. Then she closed her notepad slowly. Do you realize how dangerous what you're doing is? Yes, Kara said. But I also know what's at stake. They threatened me. Tried to burn my house down. They followed me. Called me. I'm done running. Denise leaned back, her expression unreadable. All right, she said at last. Let's find the truth. Back at the house, Kara filled Jamal in while Maya played in the living room, building a snowman from cotton balls and toothpicks. She believes me, Kara said. She's going to dig. If we can prove what happened, it won't just clear my name, it'll make it harder for them to come after us. Jamal nodded. So what do we do while we wait? We live, she said. We hold steady. But holding steady wasn't easy. 2 days later, a rock shattered their living room window. No note. Just shards of glass, and a silence that spoke louder than any warning. The police came again, took another report. Jamal patched the window with plywood. Kara swept glass from under the couch for hours. The next morning, Kara got a text from Denise. Got something. We'll call tonight. Her heart thudded. She showed Jamal the screen. Could be the break, she whispered. He nodded but didn't smile. That night, after Maya went to bed, Denise called. I dug into Peninsula's archives. You're right. A file was buried deep in the backup logs. Anomalies tied to retirement accounts. Funds rerouted. Same codes you gave me. Kara clutched the phone tighter. I also found your employee profile, Denise continued. After your termination, there were 3 internal memos tagging you as a security risk. They fabricated a whole narrative. That's why you couldn't get work. Kara felt dizzy. So it wasn't just me being paranoid. No, they wanted you erased. Jamal took the phone and spoke to Denise directly. Can you publish? I need a few more pieces, but when I do, it's going to hit hard. When the call ended, Kara stared at the wall in silence. I was right, she whispered. You were, Jamal said, and soon, everyone else will know it too. But good news has a way of stirring up more trouble. The next morning, Kara opened the mailbox and found an envelope with no return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper with 3 typed words. Stop or suffer. She showed Jamal. His jaw flexed, hard as steel. That's it, he said. We're not just reporting. We're going on record. Press. Public. You mean a statement? I mean the truth. Loud and clear. Kara nodded, adrenaline already rising in her chest. Let's do it. That afternoon, Denise interviewed them both on camera. She brought a cameraman and a neutral backdrop, a rented room in Sister Johnson's Center. Kara spoke clearly, calmly, about the lies, the cover-up, the fear. Jamal spoke, too, not just as a partner, but as a witness to what she'd endured. And when it was over, Denise looked at them both and said, "This is going to change things." Kara walked out of the building into the cold night air and looked up at the stars. She wasn't hiding anymore, and the truth was no longer hers to carry alone. The news broke on a Monday morning. Kara stood frozen in the middle of the living room as the segment aired. Maya sat cross-legged on the rug, flipping through her coloring book, oblivious. The TV screen displayed a serious-looking Denise Campbell reporting live from a modest news studio, her voice steady and sure. Former Peninsula Financial Group employee Kara Halbrook has come forward with allegations of widespread financial misconduct, revealing a pattern of internal corruption, document tampering, and the silencing of whistleblowers. A photo of Kara appeared on the screen, her library ID picture, taken weeks earlier. She looked tired, but determined. Jamal muted the volume and turned to her. You okay? Kara nodded slowly, though her hands trembled. It's out there now, she whispered. There's no taking it back. By noon, the phone started ringing. Some calls were supportive friends from the library. A kind voicemail from Mrs. Hallett. Sister Johnson praising her courage. But others were not. One caller left a message filled with curses. Another threatened to clean up the neighborhood if she didn't disappear. Jamal took control of the phone, blocking numbers and deleting messages. We expected this, he said. Let them bark. You already lit the fire. No, Kara stared at her hands. They sound like they know where I live. They probably do, but so do we. And we're not running. That evening, Denise called. We've got confirmation that the state's attorney general saw the piece. A formal review is being opened. Kara blinked. A real investigation? Yep, they're asking for internal records from Peninsula. This isn't just local now, it's going to make waves. For the first time in months, Kara let herself cry. Not from fear, from relief. But peace was short-lived. The next morning, Jamal went out to find the truck tires slashed. Again, only this time, someone had left a word scrawled across the hood in red paint. Rat. The police came again. They took pictures, filed a report, promised patrols. But everyone knew how these things went. Later, Kara stood by the window, watching the patrol car pull away. They won't stop, she murmured. No, Jamal agreed, but neither will we. At the library, Kara returned to work with quiet dignity. She didn't bring up the news unless someone else did. Some patrons avoided her. A few offered supportive nods or timid thumbs-ups. But one woman, older, white-haired, in a wool coat, stopped at the desk. I saw the broadcast, she said softly. Kara braced herself. The woman nodded. Took courage to do that. My husband lost his pension when that company folded a fund last year. You may not know it, but you helped people like us. Kara's voice caught. Thank you. And just like that, her spine straightened a little more. That night, the family curled up together on the couch. Maya lay between them, drawing while a cartoon played on low volume. Jamal's hand rested protectively across the back of the couch. Kara leaned her head against his shoulder. You still believe we're doing the right thing? She asked. I know we are. No, Kara looked down at Maya's sketch, a drawing of 3 figures holding hands in front of a house. Again, the rainbow above them. She started drawing us like that all the time, Kara murmured. That's because she sees what we are. Kara was quiet for a while. Then she asked, do you think maybe one day she could really call me Mom? Jamal didn't answer right away, but he pulled her hand into his. She already does, he whispered. The next morning, Kara received a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a printed statement from a former Peninsula colleague. A witness. I remember what happened, the letter read. They told us not to speak up, but I'm tired of being silent. Below was a phone number and a name she hadn't heard in months, Luis Mendoza. He had worked 2 cubicles over. They had shared coffee breaks. And once, long ago, she'd seen him pause at her desk, eyes filled with quiet regret when she was escorted out. Now he wanted to speak. Kara called Denise. We've got a witness, she said. Someone inside. Denise's voice lit up. Now it's a storm. Jamal returned from work late that night. Dusty, tired, but with a quiet grin. Mr. Ridley offered me a bigger contract. Said people in the neighborhood respect me for standing with you. Kara blinked. Really? Yeah, some people might hate what we're doing. But others? They're watching. And they're rooting for us. Kara stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. I never thought any of this would happen. Neither did I. He kissed her forehead. But you didn't just survive, Kara. You became someone. Outside, snow had started falling again. Soft, slow, but steady. And this time, it didn't feel like a storm. It felt like a beginning. The sun rose quietly over Maple Hollow. A light snow blanketed the rooftops, catching the morning light like glitter scattered across the earth. The air was sharp but peaceful, the kind of winter morning that whispered of stillness and resilience. Inside the Williams house, something was different. Something had settled, not in defeat, but in strength. Maya sat at the kitchen table, scribbling with a pink crayon, her bunny plush tucked under one arm. Jamal flipped pancakes, humming low under his breath. Kara poured orange juice and smiled because for the first time in years, she wasn't waiting for the floor to fall out from under her. The call came just after breakfast. Denise, Kara answered on speaker, standing between Jamal and Maya. It's official, Denise said. The Attorney General's office has issued subpoenas to Peninsula. They're launching a formal inquiry. And thanks to Mendoza's testimony, you're cleared. Kara gripped the phone tighter. Your name is no longer tied to any wrongdoing, Denise continued. You're not a whistleblower under suspicion anymore. You're a witness to fraud. The tide's turning, Kara. Kara swallowed hard, her throat tight. What does that mean for the company? Investors are already pulling back. A few executives have resigned. There'll be lawsuits, maybe even jail time. Jamal let out a low whistle. That's fast. It's momentum, Denise said, and truth. It spreads faster than you think once someone's brave enough to speak it. Kara was quiet for a moment. Then, thank you. No, Kara, thank you. She hung up and turned to Jamal. He pulled her into his arms without a word. Maya squeezed between them, wrapping her small arms around their waists. It wasn't the end of everything, but it was the end of hiding. 2 weeks later, Kara stood at the library's community board, pinning up a flyer. The headline read, "Know Your Rights, Whistleblower Resources and Legal Aid." A small crowd of patrons read it, murmuring. Mrs. Hallett came up beside her, holding a stack of returned books. "You're brave, dear," she said softly. "I was scared the whole time," Kara admitted. "That's what makes it brave," the older woman said. "Doing it anyway." Kara smiled. That Saturday, they held a small dinner at Sister Johnson's Center. Neighbors came. Kids played. The community showed up not just for Jamal, but for Kara. They brought covered dishes, hugs, cautious smiles. One older man shook Kara's hand and said, "I never trusted that company. You proved we weren't crazy." Someone else offered a worn paperback and said, "For Maya." For the next story, by the time they went home, Kara felt something shift again. Not just relief, belonging. Late that night, Kara and Jamal sat together on the porch, a blanket over their laps, a thermos of hot tea between them. Maya had fallen asleep hours ago, curled up with Bunny and a bedtime book. The stars blinked above them, brilliant and endless. "I've been thinking," Jamal said, "about making it official." Kara turned to him. "You and Maya, this house, us." She blinked. "I don't have a ring yet," he said quickly, rubbing the back of his neck. "But when I do, it won't be fancy. Just real. Like everything we've built." Kara's eyes welled. "I never thought I'd have this." "Dea." Jamal reached for her hand. "You deserve it." She squeezed his fingers. "So do you." They sat in silence for a while, listening to the wind. Then Kara whispered, "Do you think, if I hadn't gotten on that bus, I'd still be searching," he said. "And Maya, she'd still be asking the wind for a mother." Kara looked out across the yard, the porch light catching the frost on the railing. "I thought I was broken," she said, "but maybe I was just waiting for a place to mend." Jamal smiled. "This is that place." She rested her head on his shoulder, the cold forgotten. And inside, under the soft hum of the hallway light, a drawing hung on the fridge, a new one. 3 people, 1 house, a sky full of stars. And below it, written in Maya's careful scrawl, "This is our family, this is our home." This story teaches us that family isn't defined by blood, but by love, courage, and the willingness to stand beside one another through fire, both real and metaphorical. Kara's journey reminds us that the truth may cost us comfort, but it gives us back our voice. And in a world that often tries to silence the broken, choosing to speak, to love, and to stay despite the fear is the most radical act of all. Home is not a place we find. It's something we build, together.